enhance transit operations. Kelly is a principal and social media strategist for Bow Stern Marketing Communications. I apologize, apparently we had some technical difficulties with the audio. Hopefully everybody can hear that. With that, let me, not for further ado, turn it over to Justin and Kelly.
Thank you, Phil. This is Justin Begley. I'm joined by Kelly Robertson, who we just had our introductions read. So I wanted to take a quick second before we get started. Thank everybody for tuning into the webinar. We're going to spend the next 35 or 40 minutes talking about a project that we had a lot of fun being involved in, and we hope to share with you some of the high points of it and hopefully put some products in the hands of people by the end of this presentation that can be used proactively, some research and marketing materials that we think might have some value to some of the people who have tuned in today. So with that, let me get started. The title of this presentation is it's a Green Transit Communications Resource Package. And just to introduce the project a little bit, when we talk about resources, I want to be specific in that we're talking about research-based green transit information in formats that can be used by marketing, planning, and public relations professionals. So the issue of energy and environment as it relates to public transportation is really where we're trying to touch on today in the relevance for what's included in these communications materials. But really, these communications materials could be employed by anyone. Particularly through this project, we identified they may be particularly useful for mid to smaller size agencies that don't have extensive marketing budgets and marketing staff to, or possibly funding to contract out extensive green transit marketing campaigns at a local level. Also, this could be useful where budgets have been scaled back. There may be less money to invest, and some of these materials we hope could help bridge a gap between the great goings-on at transit agencies at a regional level, at a local level, and communicating these through these materials we presented. And finally, information on green transit benefits experienced publicly from public local transportation systems. If there are certainly a number of transit agencies in the state who may be providing green benefits related to energy conservation, related to environmental preservation. However, they don't have the resources to find that information out. There are a number of studies going on right now that are out there to present that information to them and to the state level. So the benefits, the green transit benefits, can be understood by both the local riders and the legislators or decision makers. I touched a little bit on the project purpose in that last slide, but I want to expand on it a little bit. The purpose of this project was to create communications materials for transit agencies and other advocacy groups to have a statewide benefit. We're really talking specifically about Florida-specific transit agency green transit benefits. I want to be clear that what we've done here is not a marketing campaign. We have not created these materials and are funding the production of them or the running of any TV or radio ads. We are simply creating a brand that provides a complementary but consistent message with other green transit campaigns that are going on, with some new information that we found might be of importance or relevance to transit agencies or decision makers. And then finally, again, specifically, I want to mention that all these materials have something in common and a common thread or element that runs through them, and it's where public transportation, energy, and the environment meet. And as we get through this presentation a little bit in some of the slides, hopefully that'll be a little bit more clear on exactly what we're saying. Originally, when we got started, I wanted to mention that this effort was for Florida Department of Transportation through the Florida Transit Marketing Network. And that group is a group of marketing professionals in the state that share and collaborate on ideas. And that project team consisted of professional services for graphic templates, artworks, and brochure. And that's where Kelly, who's going to be joining me soon in this presentation from Bow Stern, got involved. There is a marketing team through the Transit Marketing Network I just mentioned that created a project steering committee. So as we came up with ideas, as we discovered new information, as research was done, we were lucky to have these marketing professionals from around the state provide insight, expertise, and direction on where to take this project. And really, we really appreciate the participation from all of the agencies in the state, because we did get information from more than just this group, but we had active participation on this committee from the South Florida RTA, from the Gainesville RTS Transit System, from Pinellas County, as well as the West Florida Regional Planning Council. So these materials we're talking about a bit in the abstract for now, but we'll get more specific on soon, are targeted for politicians and policymakers. There's narrative and arguments and talking points made in these materials that specifically speak to these people. They speak to stakeholders. They're trying to support, they're trying to be focused towards decision makers or people who support you for transit or funding that you may be trying to solicit. They can be used in voter education campaigns, and certainly at the community level, there's some information that we think is relevant very locally. There were, at a state level, some themes that we found where the energy and environment were quite commonly discussed. Air quality standards, and this is actually a national issue, but specifically in Florida, there are some regions within the state that are going to be looking at some more stringent air quality standards affecting them, and how do they mitigate poor air quality, the new standards that may kind of draw a little bit tighter of a belt around what's allowable for emissions into the atmosphere. Since 2008, and actually before that, there's been a state climate action plan that was adopted that has a number of strategies that are targeted towards reducing emissions into the atmosphere. The transportation sector is notoriously one of the biggest contributors of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, and there are some items within the state climate action plan that uses public transportation as a strategy to mitigate some of that. The issue of the economy is something that can't be escaped these days. Green jobs. How does the state define green jobs? And do public transportation jobs in any way fit the bill of green jobs? That's something we wanted to look at in this study, in this project. We were not necessarily conducting a substantial amount of new research on these topics, but could we find existing analyses of public transportation as a job creator, and also on the issues I already mentioned? There is a lot of information out there about green transit benefits aggregated to a national level, even at a statewide level. What's out there at the local level? What are our local agencies contributing in these following areas? Sustainability, environmental conservation, energy savings. This information is only now starting to be really well understood, and I'll get into a little bit about some of the efforts going on to better define these things, how transit agencies are in a very specific way helping to contribute for sustainable causes. Where we could find information, we really wanted to target project level information where possible. There are definitely some great stories being told by transit agencies. How can we get all that aggregated into something we can share through these materials that may be relevant, and maybe even model some things for some other transit agencies that weren't aware of what certain ones were doing. And really, again, as we get into this, we'll talk about emissions offsets. We had a kind of a small window into that with a current study that had been completed. There's another study going on now that will expand on greenhouse gas and carbon footprint issues. So from the outset with this project team, we wanted to kind of define what would be the content of these communications materials before we created them. Three big items jumped out at us. They needed to fit a niche. We wanted to know if there were similar efforts going on at the state level, and we couldn't find any, but were there efforts going on nationally or in other states, something we could model potentially for this effort. We also wanted these materials to add value to the conversation. Where could we bring new information into these issues that maybe currently hadn't been discussed? And also, at the end of the day, we wanted these materials to be customizable. How can a brand or the materials be relevant for the intended use of the person at the other end? We can't certainly make a one-size-fits-all solution, so a customizable set of templates might also be a benefit, is something that we discovered. So fitting a niche is the first series of slides I want to get into. We did a review of existing green transit communications. Nationally, at the state level, there are certainly some really good things going on. The American Public Transportation Association, ABDE, has a Takes Us There campaign where they've created a number of fact sheets and other materials that have green transit facts and things about transportation, public transportation, that, there's a lot of good content there of statistics and numbers at a national level. And at the statewide level, there's also the Florida Public Transportation Association does have a number of marketing campaigns going on, and specifically there's some fact sheets about the environment, about the economy, and energy issues related to public transportation. So we've got national discussions, we've got state discussions, which were a good start for us to help us on our journey through this project. Looking nationally, there were some other states that were doing some things. You have certainly what's probably considered a pretty progressive state on these issues. The state of California's Transit Association has some fact sheets where they've got some national information. Not a lot of specific stuff from California, nor did we find it for other states. Exactly like what we were trying to do. We found some information, but we didn't find a lot of detailed information about statewide efforts that transit agencies were doing to conserve energy and preserve the environment. We also wanted to look at the private sector a little bit. What do private sector green transportation communications look like? Were there some things there that we could look at to say, well, this is an interesting way to present some information, or this is an interesting context in which to put transportation issues, environmental issues together for somebody to really get a good grasp of it through some simple things, not trying to have somebody consume large research documents, but instead get a few summary sheets and maybe understand the conversation a bit better. We certainly looked at what the transit agencies in the state of Florida were doing to promote their green efforts. On these pages, we just have some snapshots of some fact sheets, say, for Tri-Rail. Tri-Rail also had some public transit campaigns with things like green mascots, and Tri-Rail is the South Florida Regional Transportation Association. Just to be clear, they operate the rail system in Southeast Florida. The other campaigns from other agencies involved having public speakers and legislative officials come and launch new initiatives. Obviously, vehicles of alternative propulsion and fuel vehicles are of great interest, and a lot of hot topic issues there. Those are some other things how we found transit agencies promoting themselves. Ultimately, after we did this scan, what did we learn? That there are efforts at the national and state level to communicate the green benefits of transit. Just about every state transit agency locally is using some type of green promotion, and it varies, from some of the smaller agencies putting some green transit facts out there that are maybe just nationally summarized numbers, but they don't really speak to what that local agency is doing. And really, we learned that whatever products we produce should complement existing efforts. We don't, certainly from the scope of what we were being asked to do here, want to create and launch an entirely new campaign with new themes and new ideas, but maybe we can help fill out some of the discussion locally where we felt like there was some information missing, how locally the transit agencies were benefiting items for decision makers. So really, we're trying to unify all the information locally for Florida here. The items on the bottom are some themes that we saw in other campaigns. We've also added a theme here where we thought that there was some new information to add. The themes you're going to hear us talk about: the environment, energy, the economy, and innovation. Innovation specifically talking about what is the Florida FDOT, what are Florida transit agencies doing to innovate in the issues of energy and environment at the public transportation level. The next bubble we move on to is talking about adding value. Now that we've kind of defined what it is exactly we want to do, how can we add value to this discussion? What new information can we bring forward within the project to put into these materials? We wanted to start with ABDE because ABDE is certainly a great source of information, and also kind of get a feel from them. Where do some of their facts and figures come from? Where do they get some of this really good quality information that they're sharing through their campaigns? And what they told us was that they certainly, there's a number of existing research documents out there that they could pull from, but also where there were gaps, they commissioned research to get specific information that they wanted to share about public transportation. And if you follow ABDE, they're always having news releases and press releases about new information about public transportation benefits to the energy and environment. What were the successful elements of their campaign? Their takes as their campaign, they told us they considered to be moderately successful. It was neither, a rousing success nor did it do poorly. And in the D.C. area, Washington, D.C., they did tell us that the economy and environment components of that campaign were the most popular. Again, trying to identify where we can add value. As part of our scan, we also wanted to see, well, where can somebody locally or at a transit agency level go and pull some green transit information aside from some of the ABDE resources and some of the advocacy groups that are out there. Well, we have a technical report that accompanies the marketing materials that we've come up with in this project, where we've tried to summarize by types of information where there are some reliable national resources to go and get information about alternative fuels, alternative vehicles, best practices at the transit agency level, green transit facts, technical reports. And so there's a technical report I will point you to at the end of this presentation that contains some of that information. Now, the group that we consulted with for the project team also suggested maybe something more local, and this is how we kept getting directed to do more locally relevant projects and issues. I want to get into a little bit about where some of the information could come from. Where did it come from? There was a recently, at the time the project was going on, there was a recently completed Conserve by Transit study that FDOT commissioned, and it was considered phase 1. This study was commissioned to create a standard methodology for calculating greenhouse gases saved through mode shift by local transit providers. And to be a little more specific about that, really all they're looking at here is how did the transit agencies, or trips that were taken on transit that weren't otherwise taken on other forms of transportation, that greenhouse gas savings was calculated and summarized. So we have, again, a small window. We don't fully understand, let's say, the full carbon footprint of a transit agency, but we are getting a small window into savings of greenhouse gases or mitigation through mode shift. What this doesn't address, obviously, in these greenhouse gas or energy savings formulas is how to calculate energy saved through alternative propulsion or fuels or actually emissions, what is being put back into the atmosphere through transit agencies. So this research provided products that were valuable. We thought that there was good information in this report. How do you make it relatable? How does it translate into something that can go into marketing materials? Because a lot of the information in here is technical and may not be very easily understood by a legislator or a policymaker. So we did find a tool that we thought could be helpful in this process. It was the Environmental Protection Agency's equivalency calculator. I'll just read you the quote they have because I think it most concisely states what it does. It's a calculator that's used for communicating greenhouse gas reduction strategies, reduction targets, or other initiatives aimed at reducing GHG emissions. And really, to be as plain about this as I can, you could put in values that are somewhat complex, that are derived, that talk about CO2 and noxious gas equivalents, and out will pop this type of information. And I want to talk about this data sheet for a second. So on the left column, you have the fixed route transit providers for the state. A lot of these are county agencies or they are transportation authorities. And within that Conserve by Transit phase 1 study, for each transit provider, there was in the year 2006, there was a calculation done of how much GHG savings or mitigation was saved by transit operations. And when you input that information into the EPA's equivalency calculator, out comes what we consider to be relatable information, items that can be put into marketing materials that can be used in a discussion that can include everybody, whether it be a transit rider all the way up to a state legislator or potentially even a board or county commissioner or a board member of the transit agency. So what you see here in the top row are things that you more commonly hear in the conversation about transit benefits to the environment and so on. I don't want to get into too much detail here. We will make this available, or this material is available, but for each transit agency, you now have a little bit better understanding about exactly what the benefits of that agency are to the environment and energy savings. I do want to hand the presentation over to Kelly. I did speak a little bit about the background and some of the research that went on. Kelly, with Bow Stern, is going to speak more to the toolkit itself and how we take that information discussed in the slides thus far and put it into the hands of people that they can use it.
Thank you, Justin. Just as Justin mentioned, one of the big elements that we were looking at here is providing agencies, constituents with tools that are going to allow them to inform and educate policymakers and decision makers. After a lot of our review committee meetings, as he mentioned, we were able to hone in on those main 4 areas of emphasis: the environment, energy, economy, and innovation. You will see that reoccurring theme throughout all of the toolkit elements. Here's kind of a big picture overview of the various tools that we were able to develop and provide for your use, depending on your preferred method of communications. Perhaps you will use all of these. Perhaps you will use only one. What you'll see is a combination of print materials, electronic and online materials, and then some suggestions or recommendations for face-to-face communications as well. We're going to go into each one of these and just talk about how the various talking points, the various facts and data really resonate with the various decision makers. Let's just dive right on in. First, we're going to touch on the Threefold Transit brochure. Again, this is a printed piece. What you will see resonate within all of these toolkit materials is the common theme of turning the corner. A lot of our research showed that we really need to help educate and inform key constituents and targets about the importance of green impacts in public transportation in their communities. Really, these tools are intended to help individuals turn the corner in their thinking, turn their corner whether it's funding or whether it's a vote for a gas tax. All of these are relevant when you're talking about beginning to shift the mindset of the large role that public transportation plays in our communities. That was a big theme. Again, you'll see that consistently through all of these pieces. This brochure is one of the big picture general pieces that we were able to use to bring all of the 4 areas of emphasis together. So in this piece, you'll see the energy, environment, economy, and innovation touched on. This piece contains general transit facts localized to the state of Florida, which is very important as we went to develop these tools such that we could provide a resource that would allow you to communicate the benefits of green transportation here in your own backyard. What this tool also does is communicates success stories of other transit agencies throughout the state, such that you can compare to other areas or regions, whether it's vehicle initiatives, greenhouse gas emission initiatives. These are all important things that we wanted to highlight. The next piece that we're going to launch into are the handouts, talking points, fact sheets. These can be used in a myriad of ways, whether you are utilizing them to simply provide information to policymakers or elected officials, or perhaps you are speaking at a local partnership meeting or trying to engage a major employer in your area. These are sheets are a way to simply communicate key facts as it relates to these 4 areas of emphasis. Specifically, this one that we're looking at is the environment fact sheet. Again, we continue to drive back to that localized, the localized to Florida data, the localized facts. I think that's important as we look to communicate here in our own backyard. These contain a myriad of different pieces of information. You'll see sustainability facts. You will see things like equivalency calculations. We really were able to combine all of the different key environmental components here in this one fact sheet, which makes it a great resource for anyone here locally in the state. The next handout, again, very similar look and feel. We'll move on to the energy fact sheet. Same idea here, localized, statewide specific examples, some quick facts on what other transportation agencies are doing. And again, you're really able to use it and begin to convert some of these equivalency equations and data for talking points when you're sitting in front of major decision makers or policy makers. The economy handout, this was an area of emphasis that I know Justin mentioned as far as green jobs are concerned. And we were really able to lean on the Workforce Florida definition of what a green job was. And if you can see on the right-hand corner, they have a very detailed elaboration of what green jobs are defined as for our state, which incidentally, we were able to infer a lot of their data and a lot of their definitions and apply it to green jobs as it relates to public transportation in our state. Considering this current economic environment, I think this is certainly a fact sheet that will drive home and resonate with your decision makers at a local level. Some really good facts and statistics that we were able to dig up and work with them in partnership on. And the last fact sheet is the economy handout. The innovation handout, and this simply is able to highlight and showcase what other systems are doing across the state. By no means is this an all-inclusive look at what every single individual transportation agency is currently undergoing, but it gives a big picture highlight of some major accomplishments and success stories throughout the state of Florida, which is important when you're sitting and talking and really trying to show how our state is working and driving to be a leader in this area. So all of these, again, can be used, whether they're used individually or used as a packet to really drive home the point of the green transportation in our communities. The big area that came out of a lot of the review committee meetings was that these tools need to be customizable. Certainly, you want to be able to retain your local presence and your local brand, and that's something that we took into consideration. We'll touch first on some editable templates or some customizable pieces as it relates to electronic data. First, you will see that the emissions data sheet, which Justin reviewed several slides back, has very localized information per transit system across the state of Florida. And this is something that will really enable you to customize talking points and pieces of data as it relates to your system. This is a great piece of information that did not exist before this project, and so we're very pleased to be able to provide this type of data based on calculations such that systems are able to use it for their benefit. Electronically, we're looking at two different sources of communication. One, web banners, and you can see here that there's several different options as far as web banners are concerned. You have the leaderboard or the horizontal banners, and then you have vertical options depending on your website, the space allowed for those types of banners. And this, again, really drives home the point of helping turn the corner with transportation. And these materials, and we'll give you the website at the conclusion of the presentation, all of these materials are available for download and for your use, to be used at your discretion. The final electronic piece is the eBlast template. We know that some agencies, some constituents utilized databases such as iContact or Constant Contact. For that reason, we wanted to provide a basic header and footer template such that if you wanted to correspond on any of these areas or any of these core environment, energy, economy, innovation categories, that you would be able to do that with a consistent look and feel with other agencies across the state of Florida. So those, again, are able to be used at your discretion. One of the pieces that I'm most excited about as far as the customization is concerned is the talking point or the fact sheet customizable form, and then again you'll see a more lengthy e-blast template. On your left-hand side, you will see that fact sheet, and this simply allows agencies to customize based on their specific needs and the specific data that they would like to show to their constituents. You are able to highlight specific initiatives that you're currently undergoing. Perhaps you want to take some of those very important emissions statistics and place them in this fact sheet. And then, you know, perhaps you want to sprinkle them with some of the more generalized Florida facts that we were able to pull and provided in the other fact sheets that I showed several slides back. This is a great tool when you really want to hone in and drive home a specific point, because it is editable, all of these text fields. You're even able to drop in your logo such that you can retain your brand and have some a really unified approach there. On your right-hand side, you'll see a more lengthy e-blast template. This can be used in either the e-blast databases that I mentioned previously, like iContact or Constant Contact, or this is something that can be copy and pasted into the body of an Outlook email, and you can customize the text in this e-blast such that it is appropriate to your message and your target audience. So a lot of great opportunities that you have to customize and really be able to highlight the main issues for your region or your area. Ultimately, we want these tools to be a resource for you. We want you to utilize them. We want you to be able to print them off and pull them out and have them really be in your arsenal. The final element that is included in the toolkit is a PowerPoint presentation, and this begins to take us into some of those face-to-face communication efforts. This is something that you would be able to utilize at a community presentation or a partnership meeting. Perhaps you're in front of decision makers or elected officials. A lot of this information you'll see repeated from the fact sheets, but we simply have applied it and adapted it to this PowerPoint format and presentation for your use. Just showing you several sample slides here. Again, all customizable for your local system. And then we leave with some possible leave behind items. I know that we've touched on a lot of printed pieces and electronic correspondence. And these are some items that we recommend should you have the funds or the ability to communicate some of these turn the corner message points with a tangible and physical item, things like promotional items, a steering wheel, a compressed t-shirt that is in the shape of an arrow. I mean, these are very visually interesting elements that if you were able to leave them behind on an elected official's desk with the, the tag turn the corner or something specific to your local region, it would certainly grab attention more than a piece of paper sitting amongst many, many others. So just some general leave behind items and recommended suggestions should this be the direction that you want to move in as far as face-to-face communications is concerned. And then, Justin, I will hand it back over to you as you kind of wrap us up with this next slide.
Thanks, Kelly. We just have a couple slides left until we get into some questions, but I do just want to wrap up on again, why do we want to customize? Well, Kelly really did a good job of explaining that, but ultimately, specifically, what are the environmental or energy related issues in your community? And this could vary by place of the state. The state's very large in many ways. It has many different issues relevant in many different regions. Certainly in the Panhandle and Gulf Coast area, they're still dealing with the oil spill and maybe dealing with that for some time to come. That's an energy issue, an environmental issue that may not play as well somewhere else, may not be as important. Gas prices are going up again, and they'll continue to fluctuate, I'm sure, for some time, and they may be more important somewhere where they're higher than others. And then finally, locally, there may be some plan-based actions. I know in Orlando they have some very specific items where they have comprehensive plan items that there's targeting emissions reductions, and certainly public transportation is a tool to mitigate some of that. And so addressing statewide plans, regional or local plans with presentation of some of those materials could be helpful. Additional resources, I just want to wrap up by saying that the technical report does accompany this. It is found on the Florida Transit Marketing Exchange website, which we'll share with the web address with you in just a moment. The Conserve by Transit 1 study, which was completed in late 2009, I did describe that a bit. There's also a Conserve by Transit Phase 2 study, which I believe should be becoming available soon, whereas Phase 1 of the Conserve by Transit dealt primarily with GHG savings through mode shift. Phase 2 is a more comprehensive look at what transit agencies' impacts are to the environment. And if we're going to go to poll question 5 real quick, this is our final poll question. I'm going to read it. Do you believe, after watching this presentation, that any of these materials might be useful for anyone at your organization? We'll give this about another 10 seconds. Okay, we'll close this poll. Looks like for about 3 out of every 4 of you or so, there may be some use for these materials, and we're happy to hear that. And we're going to wrap this up. Just again, I'm going to thank you for attending. I thank you for being with us for the past 45 minutes. We are going to, if you can, stick around to do an evaluation. We'd appreciate that. Also, we'll take some questions. I'm going to go back real quick to that presentation just to go through this last 2 slides. There is the Florida Transit Marketing Network website, which is www.fl-exchange.com. If you have any feedback on these products or any experiences you've had with green marketing and transit, this is a great place to go. We'd really appreciate hearing about it there. And the materials, everything that we've described so far, is available in formats to both print locally, let's say, at your printer at your desk. Also, formats to print in better materials or a more wide-scale production. At that website, I'm going to show you what that looks like when you click through. The Exchange, which is the Florida Transit Marketing Network professional website, does host a link from its homepage to these green transit materials. From there, like I said, you can get a zip folder with all the materials in it. It's an easy download, as well as the technical report, which kind of supplements this, and it gives you some ideas on how or where to go to get more current information as these materials start to age a little bit. We definitely, the customizable component we think is very important. We hope that these materials have value for people going on into the future. That does wrap up the presentation, the formal presentation.
All right, thanks, Justin and Kelly. For those that have questions, if you look in the upper left-hand corner of your screen area, you'll see the ability to click on this Q&A section and just type in your question that you have for either Justin or Kelly. Click where it says Ask, and then we will ask the questions. And actually, we have a couple already, so that's great. All right, so the first one is, will the brochures be re-released with updated information, updated data in the future?
Okay, I'll take this one. At this time, the materials as they've been constructed are, they possess the information from the 2006 time frame, which was the product in the Conserve by Transit Phase 1 study. We are not under contract or have any plans to re-release any of these materials with updated information, but one suggestion would be to look towards the release of the Conserve by Transit Phase 2 study as with newer information, we believe in more comprehensive information that can be put into the customizable portion of the materials. So we think that could be a good link between those 2 items.
All right, thank you, Justin. Another question is, what type of media can these be produced on?
I'll go ahead and take that, Justin. A lot of these materials we have produced such that if you're looking to get the pieces printed, and I believe Justin mentioned it briefly, you have two different options. One, you could go to a local printer and have them professionally produced. Those file types are available for download on the fl-exchange.com website. In addition, for those that don't have the funding to get professional printing done, file types have been included that you can simply print in your in-office printer. We really wanted to make these materials as accessible and easy to utilize for all different types of agencies or individuals. So you have got two different options there based on the materials that are currently up for download.
Okay. Another question, and again, if anybody has some additional questions, just go ahead and submit them online. We'd be happy to address them. But another one, we do have quite a few folks that were on the webinar today that are out of state. Can these materials be used and readily adapted for out-of-state use?
Justin, you want that one?
Yeah, well, could they be adapted for out-of-state use? I think anything is possible, but as you'll notice through looking at some of the templates and materials, the word Florida is pretty much consistent throughout. However, there are some of the customizable pieces that I believe don't possess any regional specific information. In other words, if you've got that turn the corner template, and you can run with it and put some of your local information in out of state. These materials are truly available for anybody who wants to use them. I think you might be limited on some of the formats where we do dig specifically into Florida items. I don't know, Kelly, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, there are some facts found throughout the data sheets that extend beyond the state itself, but you are correct. The emphasis does lie very heavily on Florida. Those customizable templates certainly can be used at any level, whether it's national or outside of the United States. So certainly if that's something that you're interested in, please feel free to download that customizable template and, again, pull any facts not specific to Florida. Or, you can even be utilizing these resources as we have done through this project as a point of reference and simply seeing what other states are doing in this area.
Okay. Right now there are no other questions in the queue. Before we end today, I want to talk. I just mentioned that our next Cutter webcast will be Thursday, January 27th. Featuring Michael Audino, who will talk about the Airport Cooperative Research Program. Again, it will start at noon and go to approximately 1 o'clock. I'd like to thank Justin and Kelly for great presentations today. It's a wealth of information, and definitely recommend everybody go visit that site and download those materials. I think you'd be very impressed. With that, I'll take you to the evaluation. If you take a few minutes, just to kind of give us some feedback on today's session, we would greatly appreciate it. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody for attending today, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.